Hello, and welcome to my, hold on, let me take this thing off here. My 10:59 Facebook Live coming to you most days of the week. Today is Friday. It's the first Friday of March. Sun is shining here in Colorado, which is not unusual, though it was snowing yesterday. I mean, I have to tell you, this year is one of those years where the fluctuations in temperatures of cold to warm to cold to warm have been really noticeable this winter. But I'm psyched it's March. Psyched to do some spring skiing. We got a taste of that in Taos this past week. On Monday, we were there skiing, and yeah, it was a stellar spring day there. And what's interesting is it was like the week before, or maybe it was I think it was the week before, we were skiing at Copper, and it was bloody cold. It was one of the probably the coldest day skiing this winter for sure, and one of the colder ones I've experienced in a while. So even in a week, the difference in the conditions is, can be surprising. So welcome to Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Hope you have fun plans for the weekend. Again, my name is Henry Beyer with Strong for Life. And today we're going to be talking about, we got our quote of the day today. I don't know. I'm always adjusting this thing. I don't know exactly what's the best way to have it. Quote of the day. And we're going to talk about the key to long-term fitness success, and Friday Kaizen, and whatever else we get up to. So I want to thank viewers for being here, and thank you replay viewers for checking this out at a later time. So first, let's do the quote of the day. This one comes from a guy that I have been following for the past 4 or 5 years. I like him a lot. He has a very sensible approach, in my opinion, a sensible approach to fitness training. And he's somewhat of a well-known figure in the fitness world. And I think he just has great things to say. So here's a quote from him. Performance should be better than practice. Dan John. And so I think this is, I don't know, for some people going to the gym is their mode of exercise, right? But then there's a lot of people like the weekend warriors who are out there on the weekend. They're going running, they're going mountain biking, in the wintertime, going skiing, whatever it is that their activities they'd like to do. But they primarily have a short window of time. They have the weekend to do that. And then in this quote, Dan John specifically more talking about athletics and sports, but I think it translates into everyday life. So if you are on Dan John was a discus thrower. And he coached discus throwers in high school and maybe even in college. I don't remember exactly. But if you were throwing better in practice than you are in your meets, then that's backwards. And this is what he's talking about with performance should be better than practice. So if you're like me and you are someone who trains during the week so you can have a fun time doing the things that you like to do on the weekend, you don't want to go so hard in the gym that it negatively impacts your ability to do the activities you like to do on the weekend, whatever that is, playing golf, playing tennis. For me, that's climbing, skiing, hiking, biking. I mean, we're coming into mountain biking season, so I don't want to blow myself up in the gym during the week and then not be able to go out on the weekend with my family to go mountain biking. So, and a lot of people end up doing that, flipping that on top of each other. They train really hard during the week, and then they don't have the energy to do what they would like to do over the weekends. So think about it like this. Performance should be better than practice. And even in daily life, that if you're like even if you don't have activities that you like to do over the weekend, except for, spending time with your family, socializing with friends, the same thing should happen. That's life there. Your couple of hours in the gym shouldn't be so taxing that they suck the enjoyment out of the rest of your life. Like you're too tired to, stay awake at work, or, go out on a date with your wife because you're spending, or your husband, because you're blowing all of your energy in the gym. That's just backwards to me. So, I mean, life is the biggest game of all, right? So whatever you're doing in the gym is there to support the rest of your life. Even if you train 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's 14 hours. That's less than 10% of the rest of your week. I mean, granted, a certain period of that time is a third of that time is for sleep, but that's still, those 14 hours is still small compared to the rest of the hours that you have in your week. And it doesn't make any sense to totally destroy yourself in the gym and then not be able to enjoy the rest of your life. Now, that's my personal opinion on that. And if you are enjoying yourself in the gym and enjoying yourself in the rest of your life, then, whatever. But if you are finding that your gym time is impacting the rest of your life, then that's something to reevaluate. So I got to change this light a little bit. It's to the side. It probably should be in the front. All right. So thanks to Dan John. And this actually goes to a little bit of what we are talking about today, in terms of how to implement your training plan. Because March is implementation week for implementing your training plan. And excuse me for a second. Let me just, I talk too much and then I get air in there and I start to burp. It's not great. So when you're implementing your training plan, I think the best piece of advice, or one of the better pieces of advice that I can give is, and that I've received, is to take it slow. Too often we get very excited about our decision to get in shape, to improve our health. And we end up sort of going full bore out of the gates. And then something happens. This has happened to me. I've injured myself. We get so sore that we can't, it takes us a week to recover and do it again. It's flipping it around and taking nice measured steps into your fitness program is in my mind a better approach, because it allows you to keep going, making forward momentum. When you make those stop and start type of activity because you push too hard and you get so sore that you can't train for another week, and then you go and do it again, and you're like end up training once a week and you're sore every time after it. If you go slow to begin with and don't make yourself sore, you can come back the next day or the day after and do it again and just do a little bit. So that is really where I like to start with people, is just to make things slow. And it is how, when you look up training plans from different sources, and I talked about this when I was in the Marines too, how everything started slow. You get to boot camp and you're not immediately running 5 miles at boot camp. They start you on a mile or a mile and a half or something like that. And over the course of 14 weeks, the mileage, and I'm just talking about running, the mileage for your running increases every week until you're running, a 5-mile run in the sand with combat boots on at the end of boot camp, right? So because if they have people dropping out, it doesn't do them any good, right? That's just wasted money on their part. If they're blowing through people because they're pushing them too hard. And you might say, well, what about special forces training, like all this stuff that you see about, BUDS, basic underwater demolition. What's the S stand for? I forget what the S stands for in BUDS. Anyways, that's the SEAL selection course. It's 6 months long, but that's a different story. What they're trying to do, they start with a large number of people, and they start with 200 people, and they want that to end up with like 20 to 30 people at the end of that, right? That's their goal. So the whole strategy behind BUDS is to eliminate people. So they push hard, and you have to show up in shape to do that. When you go to boot camp, like in the Marines, like it's the opposite. They want people to finish the program. They want to have as high a rate of completion as they possibly can get, right? And they don't want people to be dropping out because of shin splints, because of, injuries that were preventable because they pushed too hard, right? And so that's the same way you want to implement your fitness program. Start off slow, take a few things, and after a little while, add some more stuff in there, because there's 2 reasons for that. One, your body, if you haven't been doing anything for a while, it's going to take it a little bit to adjust to what you're doing. So if you throw a lot of things on it right away, then you overwhelm it, and that's when you get sore, and that's when you get injured, and that's when you just put the brakes on your fitness program. And that's the reverse of what you want to do, what we're trying to do, right? If you're starting a fitness program, you want to improve your fitness. So why do something that's going to slow you down in that regard? I mentioned how I had hurt myself. So this was, 2021. So now this is 6 years ago. And it was probably about this time. It was like January 17th is the exact date. 2015 is when I was like, all right, I'm not strong. I need to get strong. And I started a Turkish get up and kettlebell swing program called Simple and Sinister. And about 2 or 3 months into that, I think it was only 2 months into that, I was trying to do for me at the time, a heavy kettlebell Turkish get up. It was 24 kilograms, so 53 pounds. And I hurt my foot. And because of that, I had to totally revamp what I was doing. I couldn't even stand up, do a full stand up kettlebell or get up, a full get up to standing position, because I could only go to kneeling position because I hurt my foot, because I pushed too hard, too fast. And it took a while for me to get over that. And honestly, I still have if I'm doing a heavy get up, and now a heavy get up for me is 32 kilograms. So this 32 kilograms, which is 70 pounds. So it's, 20 pounds, almost 20 pounds heavier than the 24 kilogram one. I still think about that foot. And so like, even just even though the physical, injury has gone away, there's still like this psychological impact of my having hurt myself like that. And it can interfere with my ability to perform those heavy get-ups. So, and there's multiple reasons why you don't want to rush in and go too hard to begin with, because most of them are things that are going to keep you from making long-term progress, right? The other thing that that I have learned in reverse is movement before muscle. Even when I had read that early on, movement before muscle, I still opted for muscle before movement. And even though some of these exercises like squatting and deadlifting and doing overhead presses and doing Turkish get-ups and things like that, when you work on doing them with good form, they will improve movement, they will improve mobility, they will improve flexibility. It's not quite what I've found. It's not quite the same as also doing mobility and flexibility and movement practice as well as what you're doing. When I don't know when it's been in the last year or so that I've sort of made this sort of mindset shift around this muscle before movement, movement before muscle thing. It's just, I mean, it's so easy. Like it feels good to go into the gym and whatever it is, bench press a bunch of weight, do some heavy deadlifts, do some heavy squats. Your body just feels really good after you do that sort of thing. At least that has been my experience. And there's just a thrill and there's an ego boost when you do that thing. So that ends up being the stuff that we like to do when most people like to do when they're in the gym, right? I mean, the foam rolling, the stretching, the crawling on the ground, the rolling on the ground. It seems so, some of it seems childish and the rest of it just seems like, I'm just wasting my time. But, and when I was a younger man, you can get away with that stuff. But at 52, totally can't do that anymore. There's so much more, how do I want to say it? It's just, if I do that, sure, I am able to sort of do the exercises that I can do, but and I've read this, that these guys, especially like these elite lifters, they can, and I think this happens to football players and things like that. I mean, they can lift a ton of weight in the gym, but then they can barely walk up a flight of stairs, right? Because they're everything's so tight and stiff and whatever. And that's not, in my mind, that's not the way to go through life. We want to be able to feel confident and competent in our bodies so that we can spontaneously participate in life. Someone comes around and says, "Hey, man, I'm going to go do this X, Y, or Z thing. Do you want to come along and do that?" And you're like, "Oh, well, one, I got this bum ankle because I was doing, 5-foot depth drops. And I banged up my ankle." Right. Or it's just like, "Oh man, doing that, I can't go that far because I have a bad hip," or whatever it is. I mean, there's that's the opposite of what we're trying to do, or at least of what I'm trying to do and trying to impress upon you, is that what you do in the gym, and this goes right to what Dan John is saying, performance should be better than practice. So you want whatever you're doing in the training gym, in the training the weight room, the training room, or your training sessions to enable you to get out and live life and not have your life be in the gym. And that's my personal approach. If you have a different approach, that's great. And, all power to you for that, because if you're out doing stuff, I applaud you. And, but if you're new to the sort of the fitness, this sort of having fitness as being a part of your life, and that's what it is. It's a part of your life. It's a part of who you are. That you should really think about this slow, methodical approach to, I got on this long thing. There was two things that I wanted to say. One is it just helps you keep going. It builds momentum going slow. And then over the long term, you can, as you get stronger, you can add stuff in. That's the other thing. As your body adapts, I started with your body can only adapt so much early on, but as you become stronger, you become more fit, your body can do more. And then you can add in more stuff to your program. But to begin with, you just want to take small steps. It's the Kaizen, the Friday Kaizen idea is taking those small steps. And as you, it's this like the snowball, right? The snowball starts like this, and then it just like turns into this massive thing like that, the snowball effect. And that's how your fitness should be. You start slow, start with a few things, a few core things, and then add in more stuff. And that has been my experience and my learning curve as well. I started with doing kettlebell swings and Turkish get-ups. And then I added deadlifts and overhead presses. And then after that, I got into, I did some bench pressing. I've always done pull-ups. So those are just normal. And after a couple of years, I didn't do any squats or anything like that. All it was swings, deadlifts, overhead presses, stuff like that. And then at some point I was like, well, I have like this gap. I'm going to start doing squats. And I started doing squats, but it was all these things got added on little bit by little bit. And now I have others, I have working on some Olympic lifting, and doing some more body weight type stuff. I mean, you don't have to go in that order, but the point is over the past 6 years, what I've been doing has expanded. I didn't start doing all the stuff that I'm doing today in my program. I started with 2 exercises, a kettlebell swing and a Turkish get-up. And then that doubled to deadlifts and overhead presses. So long-term success is building on what you're able to do as your body adapts and becomes stronger and better conditioned over time. And the lesson, the lesson that I'm now sort of learning is working on the movement parts before the muscle parts. And I went straight for the muscle parts. And I mean, my movement was not bad, but if I had started early on with that, then maybe my progress would have been different. That's just a different story. But now what I've found is, and this is maybe just as I said, with age, when you're young, you can get away with just kind of abusing yourself. But as you get older, it just doesn't work. And so this movement before muscle just has me feeling better than I was previously. It's not, I guess, the strength training, after I started strength training, I definitely started feeling better too. But this is just like a different type of better. Like I feel more, I don't know. It really, something similar happened when I added squats to my regular sort of lifts compared to just having done deadlifts for so long, is I felt a different sort of strength and power in my legs and hips from doing squats. And now, since I've been not focusing, but I've been being better at doing movement work, a lot of movement work, a similar thing has happened where I guess I just don't feel as stiff. I feel more fluid in my walking and things like that. If that makes sense, my shoulders tend to feel a little bit better. The tight shoulders and this tight shoulders, thoracic, and hips. Those are like the areas where so many people suffer from. And those are the areas that I've been working on. And I can notice a difference just from doing that sort of work. So taking it slow, movement before muscle. These are the things when you're starting out, implement those things first. And it's okay to sort of have things that mesh together. There's all these different qualities, right? Physical qualities, strength, flexibility, stamina, power, speed, agility, endurance. We can work on those simultaneously, but choose one or two of those and I would say movement is first. Muscle is second. So work on movement and muscle. So when you're spend time working on movement and mobility and spend some time working on muscle. Let's say you have 45 minutes to train. I would say, typically the shorter the length of time that you have to train, you sort of shorten the warm up and the cool down. And don't forget the cool down here. And then you fill it. But I might say, okay, I'm going to spend 15 minutes warming up, doing my movement and mobility stuff. I'm going to spend 15 minutes lifting. I'm going to spend 15 minutes or maybe 20 minutes lifting and 10 minutes cooling down, something like that, right? That's a 45-minute session right there. And instead of it being, oh man, I got to hit the weights for 45 minutes and 45 minutes, I do a couple of toe taps and I drink some water at the end of it, right? That's my warm up and cool down, some toe taps and some or toe touches and a drink of water at the end of it and call it good. I'd say, again, more time, especially to begin with, more time on movement, less time on muscle. And as your movement gets better, you don't have to spend as much time on that sort of thing. And then you can spend more time on muscle. But if you get that movement thing down here, I'll share this page again with you. Share screen, application view. Oh shoot, where is that thing? It is not open, so I can't show it to you on here. Hold on, give me a second. Let me get rid of this. Here we go. I'm gonna open this. All right, I will show it to you here. Share screen, application window, boom, share. All right, here, which way? I got to go this way. So this is what I'm talking about. Movement, your movement ability capacities need to be bigger than your muscle capacity. Otherwise, you overpower your frame. And if you think about, like, let's say you put like a Chrysler 300 engine into what were one of those, like, what were those small cars, those any small car, right? You put one of these into that huge engine into a small car, the car is just going to fall apart, right? If you put too much muscle, that's your engine, onto your chassis, your frame, your ability to move, you're going to start having problems. You're going to start getting injuries and things like that. So again, improve your movement skills, and early on, this should be the focus. And then as you get good at this stuff, then you can start adding muscle on top of that. I talked a fair bit about that yesterday, but I just wanted to pull that up again, because 11:33, it's time for me to get off of here. We didn't bust into Friday Kaizen quite as much. I talked a lot more about other things, but the Friday Kaizen today, it's coming out of The Art of Taking Action. And this is about non-attachment, effort and outcomes. So outcomes are almost always uncontrollable. Even if you work, strength fitness is one of those things where you can have a fairly decent control over what an outcome might be. Like if you do progressive resistance training, you are more than likely going to get stronger. If you follow a well thought out plan and you lift some weights and you do it regularly and you don't overdo it, you'll get stronger. But the outcome, like very specific outcomes and timing of those outcomes, is less controllable. So that is one thing. And non-attachment and effort and outcomes is like, it's important to think about what is controllable and what isn't controllable. So sometimes what isn't controllable is your time, because random things is going to happen. But what is controllable is when you get to the gym is how you apply your time. So, and I talked about this yesterday, but what ends up happening is when people get shortchanged for time is they skip the warm-ups and the cool downs. They skip basically their movement improvement part of their training, and they go straight to, well, I'm supposed to be doing this amount of weight or whatever today in this crazy lift. And that's what and so they blow off the warm up, they blow off the cool down, they spend all their time on the lift. You got to flip that around. You might not be able to control exactly when you get to the gym. Hopefully you can most of the time, but when you can't, you can control what you focus on in the gym. Again, you can also, you get to the gym and you can't control who's going to be using what or whatever sometimes, but you can control what you do in those moments. And sometimes that, and more often than not, lean towards movement over muscle, movement over muscle, movement over muscle. Just remember that. Okay. And then, I think this is another one. The other thing that I have underlined here, we have to find a way to enjoy the journey, even when we don't get the results we hoped for. And weightlift, especially if you are going to be in doing fitness stuff over the long haul. When you first start, one of the motivating things for people when they first start fitness programs is the rapid improvements that they notice in their ability to do things. And that's the body's capacity to change from the opposed demands, the SAID principle, it's specific adaptation to imposed demands. So, lift something over your head a couple of times and it's heavy, the next time you come back, that same weight should feel a little easier. And this is especially if you're a beginner. So the first 3-6 months, depending on how you're doing it, like you can have some rapid improvements in your strength and conditioning simply because of where you were, of being detrained or undertrained or untrained, whatever it is. And then you start doing a good program, you're going to see some rapid improvements. But with fitness, the more fit, the stronger you get, the harder it is to make progress, to make those gains. And a new person can go to the gym and add 5 pounds for like month. It could be up to 6 months. They could keep adding 5 pounds to their lift every time they go to the gym. But it might take a year for an elite athlete to add 5 pounds to one of their lifts. So as you progress in the long-term things, you have to have a way to enjoy what you're doing or have some outside motivation. Like I have a guy that I'm working with now, and his motivation, he told me this the other day. He wants to like go hard until he's 95 and a half or 95 3/4. He's my age. He's 52 or 53 now. So like another 40 something years. He wants to go hard, be bam, 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 and then have his demise happen overnight. And at 96, he's dead. That's what he told me. He wants to die at 96 on his birthday. And that's awesome, right? But he's like, 95 and a half, 95 3/4, I'm going strong. And then my demise is rapid. It's just precipitous, cliffhanger drop off, right? And if that's the case, you have to know that for, let's say you start for, that's 40 years or something like that, 42 years, like 40 years of that is going to be, there's going to, progress, especially when you're older, progress is going to diminish, right? And it's really more about maintenance. So he wants to be able to, roll around on the ground with his grandkids and dance. And Dan John talks about dancing with his granddaughter at her wedding. Those are goals that help you keep going back to the gym over and over again, even when like you're feeling tired and don't want to do it. And it doesn't seem like there's any progress coming, or maybe the progress seems like it's going backwards. So being able to enjoy that process, having someone doing it with friends, doing things that you like, but sometimes you also have to do some of the things that you don't like. But hopefully the majority of the time you're doing things that you like and you have something that's driving you or impelling you or pulling you forward. So you keep doing it. What did this say? I think I lost the page. Oh, no, that was lucky. We have to find a way to enjoy the journey. And even when we don't get the results we hoped for. And I was talking about, it's not straight up trajectory, always making gains. And anyways, and whatever it is, it's like this. The curve goes like this. It goes sharp and then it flattens out, right? But even when it flattens out, have to have some way to keep going. That's the Kaizen, that just a little bit of improvement, or just the fact that you're showing up, and in some cases it's just warding off, slowing down, putting on the brakes of the aging process is part of that. Okay. Holy smokes. 11:42. I got to roll. I want to say thanks for being here. Again, the quote of the day here was, hold on. Show performance should be better than practice. Dan John. Don't blow it all in the gym, ladies and gentlemen. Don't blow it all in the gym. Be able to be on your game when you're out there on the tennis court, the golf course, the bike, whatever it is. Don't leave it all in the gym. All right. Okay. So thanks for being here. We will catch you next time. And again, my name is Henry Beyer and appreciate you coming on. And thanks to you replay viewers for seeing this. And we will see you next week. Have a great weekend. Cheers.